Hello, everyone. I want you all to know that my upcoming book, Demystified Mysteries, Oracles, and Oils, is highly inspired by the work of Ammon Hillman. He has a PhD in ancient Greek classical philology and reads the source text directly in Greek, which is why I consider him a true sorcerer of language and symbolism. That being said, my work expands beyond his conclusions. Ammon argues that the gospel narratives portray Jesus in ways associated with criminal cult behavior in the Roman world. One example is the Greek word leistes. In many English Bibles, it is translated as thief, yet in Matthew 26:55, Jesus asks, "Why have you come with swords and clubs, as though I were a leistes?" Later, he is crucified between two more leistai. If armed soldiers arrive with swords and clubs, perhaps leistes implied something far more dangerous than a simple thief. Ammon also focuses on the mysterious young man in the Garden of Gethsemane who flees naked when seized, Mark 14:51. In his reading, the Greek terms suggest not ordinary clothing, but a medicated wrap or bandage on the body. Ammon connects this imagery to ancient pharmacology, venom cults, antidotes, ritual intoxication, and theriac, the legendary profit-making oil. This is where I begin to diverge. Rather than reading these stories as endorsements of criminal or cultic behavior, I see them as symbolic narratives about initiation, the death of identity, and the awakening of consciousness. Moses ends bull worship. Jesus becomes the final sacrificial figure. The movement is from external sacrifice toward inner transformation. Ammon compares Jesus and the young man to Zeus and Ganymede, the divine cupbearer who pours ambrosia, the drink of immortality. Jesus himself says in Matthew 26:39, "Father, let this cup pass from me." The cup becomes more than a physical object. It symbolizes initiation itself, the ordeal that dissolves the old self. The cup represents purification, altered consciousness, symbolic death, and rebirth. When Jesus says, "I thirst," on the cross, in John 19:28, Ammon connects this to ancient venom symbolism and pharmacological rites. Even the Greek word dipso, "I thirst," resembles the name of the Dipsos serpent, which ancient writers associated with intense thirst. Vinegar, sour wine, venom, antidote, purification, all become layers of symbolism within an initiation drama. Lady Babylon's cup becomes another archetype of transformation, the burning purple cup that dissolves illusion and mortality. The plagues, serpents, oils, cups, and anointings point toward the making of the oracle, the prophet, the seer, the magus, the anointed one. Likewise, I interpret the rapture psychologically rather than as a physical escape from the world. Revelation itself means unveiling. The unveiling is awareness recognizing itself behind thought, sensation, memory, emotion, and identity. The wilderness is the mind itself. When Jesus enters the wilderness and Satan tempts him, I do not see this merely as an external devil standing in the desert. The wilderness symbolizes the inner psychic landscape, the realm of thought, fear, fantasy, memory, desire, identity, and illusion. Satan represents the adversarial voice of fixation. The temptations become psychological. Turn stones into bread means use consciousness only for material gratification. Throw yourself from the temple means become intoxicated by spectacle, ego, and self-importance. All the kingdoms of the world can be yours means rule the dream instead of awakening from it. The greatest temptation is to mistake the contents of the mind for ultimate reality. The observer becomes trapped in observation, thought becomes worshipped, emotion becomes mistaken for prophecy. Inner imagery becomes confused with absolute truth. The wilderness therefore symbolizes psychological confusion and identification with the mind alone. One lives inside thought without recognizing the awareness that witnesses thought. To me, that is the deeper meaning of temptation, to remain trapped in the mind forever. The keys to heaven and earth symbolize mastery of both domains. Earth is embodiment, material existence, and waking life. Heaven is mind, imagination, dream, symbol, and psychic reality. Likewise, wakefulness and sleep, conscious and subconscious, inner and outer. Awakening is not rejecting one realm for the other, it is learning to move freely between both without becoming enslaved by either, to observe without fixation, to dream without drowning, to think without worshipping thought, to enter altered states without mistaking them for absolute truth. Anything else becomes false prophecy. Psychosis can involve becoming overwhelmed by symbolic reality. Dissociation can involve losing connection with embodied experience. Delusion can involve treating mental projections as unquestionable truth. The true prophet in my interpretation stands between heaven and earth, not trapped in matter, not trapped in imagination, but consciously navigating both while remaining rooted in awareness itself. That is why awakening is resurrection symbolism. The false self dies, the witness remains. These are the themes I explore throughout my upcoming book, Demystified Mysteries, Oracles, and Oils, a study of initiation, ancient pharmacology, symbolism, comparative mythology, and the anatomy of awakening.